1980年9月24日にリサ・ロビンソンにより収録されたこのインタビューは、ジョン・レノンの短い生涯における最後のインタビューの一つです。新作アルバム「ラブル・ファンタジー」を完成させ、5年間のブランクを経てポピュラー音楽の世界に復帰しようとしていました。1966年以来となる初の全米コンサートツアー「ワンワールド・ワンピープル」も準備が始まり、1981年の春にスタートする予定でした。時代を先取りするジョンは、ヒット曲満載の2時間のショーにオーディオとビデオを取り入れる計画を立てていましたが、1980年12月8日、一瞬にして全てが終わってしまいました。
I went through every thought you can imagine in 5 years, like first 18 months was hard to stop jumping onto a piano or expecting to do something, because I'd been sort of turning out singles and albums since 1962 on call, as it were. Every 3 months a single, every 6 months an album. So I was sort of like a robot.
Did you you made a conscious decision to stop?
Yeah, it was harder to stop than to continue. Although I don't think continuing would have done me any good, artistically. But it's very hard to stop. I kept thinking this must be what it's like when guys get retired at 65 and they're still alive and kicking, but somebody pushed a button and they have to go. So I kind of dealt with that. What would one do if one wasn't doing it? And gradually I got into being a house husband or with Sean or whatever. But at first I was very sort of frantic all the time, didn't know what to do. There seemed to be endless time. The other day I got to see him for a good hour without any event going on, without he was busy or I was busy or something happening. And there was something on TV. We were sort of half watching it. We were lying in the bed together. And it was something about models or something. And he's lying there next to me. He says, "When I grow up, I want to be just a daddy." I said, "Oh, I see." I said, "You mean that you wish I wasn't making this record, right? And I was being just a daddy?" He says, "Yeah, that's right." You see, it makes daddy happy to make the music. And if daddy's happy, then when he's with you, he'll have less tension, Because he knows what tension is. He knows when I'd get tense would be when I was torn or unfulfilled, And I said, it doesn't take long. It'll only be another week or something like that. And then I'll be back here with you, And he says, because I have him to the studio, once or twice a week to let him see what's going on. He says, "But you don't do anything. You just sit there." So he hadn't seen me performing with the musicians or singing, the first session, because I was too nervous after 5 years or even after 2 weeks. First sessions, I'm always very hyper, so I would be rude to him or offhand, which can hurt him for a week, one offhand remark. They're so sensitive. So he missed the exciting part, which is when everybody's banging and playing. And I didn't bring him into overdubs. And I was generally sitting in the seat there, like listening to overdubs. And I said, "Well, I'm listening there." He says, "No, but you didn't." I said, "It's just like a big tape recorder." He says, "I know that. You explained that. But you didn't even touch it," meaning that Jack and Lee, the engineer, were touching it. I was thinking, oh, he thinks I just don't do anything. And what he's saying is that what I'm doing isn't worth, if it's not that much fun, his idea of fun is action, it's if you're leaving me just to sit in a seat, So, I mean, we're that close that it is painful. I'm feeling guilt-ridden and racked because, what's a record compared with Child? It's nothing. But still, I have to do it.
トミー関口のガラスの玉ねぎ TV.
More than almost anyone, John Lennon knew about the pressures of the music business. During our conversation, we talked about that.
If you think about it, I've been under pressure since I was 21 or 2. That's in public, that's been very famous. 22 is when I signed the first contract. So I've been producing sort of under pressure for almost 12 years or 15 years. I don't know how long it is, from 1962 up till 1974. That's a long time to be expected to and churning out thousands upon thousands of things. And there comes a point where I don't want to just churn out stuff that's just craftsman, even if it was a hit, presuming it was popular.
Mm-hmm.
that was just well crafted. Because I'm not interested in being a craftsman. I am a craftsman anyway. I've learned my trade and my craft from being in the studio and performing all those years. But I'm not interested in sustaining myself on my past reputation and getting away with it by craftsmanship, like some, let's say, older singers can do that. If you were just a singer, you get to be 50, 60, whatever, and your voice isn't so good, but your stage presence is such that you can, it's not fake it, but you can do certain things that people sort of, somebody said they saw Elvis, I would never see him, although I worshipped him before he went in the army and when I was a kid. But I would never go and see him in Vegas or anything like that. I asked a great fan of his, who was Mal Evans, used to work for us. I said, well, what was it like, And he says, well, if you pretended that you were 16, then it was all right. You see, and I don't want to be a person where people have to pretend they're 16 to be able to watch me or to listen to me. And so if that's the way it's going to be, I will do something else,
What else? Had you ever considered doing anything else?
I never considered being a musician in a considered way, you see. I've never taken anything that considered. I had a lot of balls in the air, and when I became a professional musician the day I got a red letter from the art college saying, don't bother coming back next September. Now I'm a professional musician. I got myself to a point where I can live without music. My need is for expression.
Yeah. So
I can
would it have taken another form?
Yeah, probably.
Writing, painting, acting?
Acting, I'm not interested.
Not at all.
When I did How I Won the War with Dick Lester in 1966, I mean, regardless of what kind of movie it was, the main lesson I learned was it's best to be the director, because otherwise you're just sitting on your ass all day. But I did write Strawberry Fields while I was sitting on my ass in a desert in Spain. But the acting was absolutely not worth it.
John and I talked about what he actually went through when he set out to write a song.
I consider it being possessed when the really creative music comes. Meaning I don't sit down and say, I'm going to write a song about this, that, or the other, like one would do a lot of the time when one has to produce so many records or so many songs a year. That one could afford to wait for a Nowhere Man or songs that had come to me in the past. Music and words as if I'm a medium. You see, so that's how the real joy is there. So one has to not be, sometimes mediums can't produce these manifestations because they start doing it on call and they get business going, and then in one day I say, Lisa, I want to talk to so-and-so, and the mad thing doesn't come through.
トミー関口のガラスの玉ねぎ TV。
But when I'm creating, the creating is the joy. The song coming and, oh my God, what's this doing? It's writing itself. It's like I'm watching somebody else doing it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I use Nowhere Man as an example simply because I remember I struggled all morning, about 6 hours to write a song the day I wrote Nowhere Man in 1964 sometime. And I finally gave up. We've all experienced this on different levels. I lay down on the couch, I was really depressed. Can't write a song. And as I lay down exhausted like that, because I was no longer centered on this, I have to write a song. I just lay down. And, I picked up the guitar and the whole damn thing was there. Well, all these songs came like that.
チャンネル登録お願いします。ガラスの玉ねぎ TV を応援してくれる人はメンバーシップもよろしくお願いします。